Across the board, survival games challenge us to maintain the basics: hunger, thirst, and energy. But some survival games switch that up, adding their own unique twists to the basics or even creating their own interesting features and mechanics, ensuring that you're always on your toes and honestly sometimes even a little bit frustrated. And that's what today's video is all about. We're going to dive into a few survival game mechanics and features that are brutal, adding challenge to their respective games along with a small dose of annoyance. First, let's talk about temperature in the long dark. Temperature is not an uncommon feature in survival games. Project Zomboid, Conan Exiles, and Scum are just a few examples of games that incorporate temperature mechanics in one way or another. But here we're going to talk about how temperature is handled in the long dark, because in a lot of ways, it feels next level. Maintaining warmth is a constant battle, especially on higher difficulties like Interloper. No matter what, it's going to be cold outside, meaning as soon as you step out the door of your shelter, you've got a clock ticking, bringing you closer and closer to freezing every second that you stay out. Hypothermia and risk of frostbite are powerful, potentially very dangerous warnings for you to find shelter. If you don't find shelter, you'll risk frostbite, which results in a permanent reduction to your condition. And it's not even a small reduction, it's actually pretty significant. And like most survival games, any reduction to your condition can massively impact your game down the road. So if this happens to you early on in a run, this could lead to some major consequences. There are things you can do to manage your temperature in the long dark. You can drink and eat items that have been warmed, you can wear warm clothing, and you can do your best to avoid dangerous weather conditions where it's very windy or the temperature drops especially low. But if you're moving around and you get caught in a storm, and especially if you're playing on Interloper, your temperature will drop, and it will drop fast. It's something you'll constantly have to monitor, and for me at least, it can ruin a run very easily. Even when you feel prepared, temperature can change that in a second and leave you literally out in the cold searching for a way to warm up. Next, we're going to talk about hunger, and we're sticking with the long dark for this one. The long dark takes that basic hunger mechanic that's so common in survival games and adds its own spin to it. The game maintains the standard of requiring you to eat to regain calories that you will expend when you engage in activities like sprinting, resting, crafting, harvesting, etc. One of the things that makes the long dark's hunger mechanic so challenging is the scarcity of food. Now, if you're playing on a lower difficulty, you'll find resources to be more plentiful, but in medium and higher difficulties, food is incredibly hard to find, forcing you to scavenge, hunt, and get creative in how you're going to manage your intake and expenditure. I'm not kidding about it being limited. If you're playing on Interloper, you'll be celebrating finding some cattails and a candy bar, which is maybe a few hundred calories, and that's nowhere near what you need to replenish what you're going to be burning as you try to survive. You'll likely find yourself doing calculations in your head just to decide if you can do an activity without going too far into a calorie deficit. Technically, you can survive for a bit without food, but it'll soon start to affect your energy levels, meaning if you aren't eating enough, it's only a short amount of time before you start struggling in other ways. The effect will snowball, pun intended, leading you to dangerous situations very quickly. And a lot of it, like with most of the things on this list, is out of your control. There's only so much you can do to find food in a world that is so harsh and has such limited resources. It's part of the fun of the challenge, but it can be frustrating. Next, we're going to talk about the Centipede in Green Hell. There are certainly unique challenges that can come with playing in a tropical forest, like in Green Hell. For this entry specifically, I'm going to be talking about the Centipedes. Now, if you've ever played Green Hell, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But if you haven't, very briefly, it's rather common when you're picking up items from the ground like logs, sticks, or leaves that have been sitting on the ground for a while to have a jump scare of a very large centipede crawling up your arm and potentially biting you. There's a sound cue that will happen at the beginning of this type of interaction to indicate that a centipede is there, giving you a chance to drop the items before it bites you. But if the centipede successfully bites you, you'll be afflicted with a venom wound and a fever. With how quickly your health and well-being can drop in this game, any negative effects to your status can hit you really hard. On a good day, the Centipede could be a minor annoyance that you can bounce back from relatively quickly, but on a bad day, or in the case where your health is already very low, this could majorly impact a run and even potentially end it. And we all know from playing survival games, once one thing goes wrong, there tends to be a domino effect. Finally, let's talk about mental health in Rimworld. In Rimworld, you're managing a group of people who are attempting to build a future on a hostile planet. So, in all honesty, it's only logical that the mental health of your colonists would play such a prominent role in the success or failure of that mission. You'll notice when you're generating colonists for your game that they may have psychological traits such as being an optimist or having depressive traits, all which impact their overall moods. But that's not all, because their moods are also largely impacted by their needs, their environment, and their experiences in the world. And let's be honest, there's only so many of those factors that you can control in a game, because you also never know what's going to be thrown at you and what you're going to be needing to manage while you're also trying to micromanage some of the things that are going on with your colonists. And when a colonist's mental health gets bad, it can lead to a mental break, where a colonist starts to act irrationally, even dangerously, and potentially posing a threat not just to themselves, but to the rest of the colonists. This can have disastrous results, not just for the colonist who is suffering the mental break, but the entire colony as a whole. Nothing exists in a vacuum in real life or in Rimworld, and what can be especially frustrating is that there's only so much that you can do. It's hard to see your colonists struggle, and it's hard to watch things fall apart, but sometimes that's all that you're able to do. Sit behind the screen and watch things just totally fall apart. These are a few of my picks of some of the most brutal features and mechanics in survival games. These are features and mechanics that challenge us, they keep us on our toes, but sometimes it can also add a little bit of frustration, and it's okay to admit that. What moments or mechanics in survival games have you found especially difficult? Let's talk about it in the comments. Do you have any strategies for overcoming any of these difficult features, difficult mechanics? Let's also talk about that. If you like more content like this, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.